Hello and welcome to Make It Happen. I'm Alex and this is how I made my Jigsaw cosplay for Supanova Brisbane 2019. I first began by testing a cardboard template for the reverse bear trap. Now this was then duplicated onto EVA foam and cut out. Now this whole process involved a lot of cutting, so you will need to be constantly sharpening your Stanley knife. Using a heat gun, the pieces were formed into their curves, as well as using my rotary tool to smooth out the edges. This whole stage was just cutting out small detailed pieces of foam and hot gluing to the entire thing. Once I was happy with the shape, I hit the piece with a little bit of rubber filler and sealed it in with black plasti dip. For painting, I just kept dusting on brown, orange, black and silver spray paints until satisfied and dry brushed on a little silver. The surgical saw was a freehand design cut out of EVA foam and craft foam. The textured side had to be sanded off and the 3 layers of foam were then hot glued together. And then they were sanded down to the same profile. This was then finished off with heat sealing, plasti dip and the painting. The circular saw was a piece of 3mm plywood, which had the fitting holes drilled out and the teeth cut out with a jigsaw. This was then primed with grey spray paint and painted with the silver, brown, black and orange dusting. For the blood, I hooked up the piece to a hand drill and began spinning it as I applied red paint for the splatter. This made a huge mess. The length of chain was a 2mm length of white plastic chain, which was hung up and painted with a base layer of silver and dusted with black, brown and orange. The gun and handcuffs were from a dollar store toy cop set, which I painted to look more realistic. For the mask, I had my sister apply sheets of plaster over my face. Once it was dry, I hot glued on pieces of styrofoam to bulk out the eyebrows, cheeks and chin. More plaster sheets were applied to seal in the foam and add strength along the edge. I then took my rotary tool to both cut out the eyes, chin and outline and sand down the edges. I applied 2 layers of wood glue to seal the plaster and applied a thick coat of gap filler and sanded smooth. For painting, I started with a grey primer and brushed on 4 layers of white paint. I then carefully hand painted on the lips, black edging, and the cheek swells. The mask had pieces of black fabric hot glued to the mouth and elastic banding for the head straps. For the costume, I wore a long sleeve grey shirt, a black vest, a red tie, black gloves, the props and chains over my shoulder, a black balaclava, black eye makeup, the mask, and a black wig. If you have enjoyed this tutorial and would like to see more, please subscribe to make it happen.